Hello, and welcome to the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast, the podcast redefining women's health, one unfiltered conversation at a time. I'm your host, Jacqueline Rose, and every week I'll sit down with leading women's health experts and real women to share their lived experiences, bust health myths, challenge outdated and uninformed narratives, and explore what's really possible for women. We'll talk about periods, fertility, menopause, hormones, aging, and everything in between. This podcast is for every woman who ever felt confused, dismissed, or left out of the conversation about her own health. It is a space to celebrate women, break the silence, and open up conversations between mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends. Please hit the follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode and share this podcast with your daughters, family, and friends. Let's get on with the episode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast. And I'm very excited today to have a very special guest, all the way from very, very far, Brisbane. She's got up super early to join me. I'm so honored to have you here, Mandy. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we're going to get straight into the conversation.
Oh, thank you, Jacqueline, and it's just so lovely that you've taken the time to invite me on. So I'm really excited about it. So, yeah, as you said, I'm located in Brisbane, Australia. I'm originally from just a little small town outside of Canberra. So I've kind of moved up the east coast in the last 10 years or so, bit by bit by bit. A little bit about me. I've just written my first book, which I'm super excited about, which I know that we're going to
We're going
talk
to talk
about.
lots about it.
Yeah, I'm also a coach for women, generally around the kind of 35 to 55, 60-ish, 60-ish age. And that was an active choice on my part because that's the perspective that I come from. So I coach from where I know. I have been in professional services in learning and development and organizational development for about 20 years.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I've lost you.
so I've been in professional services for around 20 years in that corporate space, and I look after learning and development and capability development and organizational development. I guess where my purpose comes from, if we want to use those kinds of words, is it brings me joy when I see a spark of the aha moment, and whether that is by people reading my book, or if I'm coaching, or if I'm teaching, or if I'm in the professional services space and I'm running a workshop on communications or how to have a difficult conversation. It's the spark, the aha moment that is what
Yeah.
gives me joy. Now, I rebuilt my corporate career starting about 10 years ago after a significant let's call it a trauma. I have been sober for just on 9 years, and when I went down to the bottom of the bottle, metaphorically,
Yeah.
I completely lost everything. So, I think that's an important part of my story. It's not my whole story, and it's something that I have learnt to put in as a chapter, not the whole story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and it really does drive what I do, because I'm very, very open about my experience. I'm very, very open about overwhelm, family dysfunction,
Yeah.
challenging situations, addiction, mental health. And I do that, Jacqueline, because I'm pretty bullshit, and I kind of figure that um, I've got a voice that I can use, and I'm not afraid to use it for the people out
Yeah.
there who might find it just a little bit more difficult to do that.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment on that, but I can, and I feel comfortable to do it,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to do that.
So, not to focus on the trauma, but to focus on what happened since and how you got to where you are
Mm,
now as being a life coach, coaching women in transitional stages, coaching women
mm,
at, in certain junctions of their life. Sort of what led you to that, and how do you practically sort of support your clients?
Mm. I think the easiest answer there is one tiny, tiny choice at a time. You
Yeah,
know, the day I stopped drinking, I had $1.17 to my name. I'd destroyed my career. I was over $500,000 in debt. How do you get from point A to where I am now? It
yeah,
doesn't happen overnight.
yeah.
It happens one tiny, tiny, tiny decision at a time. And those tiny decisions are based on what feels right for you, not caring so much what other people think. And an
Yeah.
example of that is, I destroyed my career and I had no money and I was in debt. Now, I had a sparkling professional career before that. I had been married, I came from a good family, I had two beautiful children, I had the picture perfect there for
Yeah,
many, many
yeah,
years. And, part of rebuilding myself was putting the ego aside, putting the appearances aside, putting the
mm,
expectations or judgments or what other people thought, and doing what I had to do to get back on my feet. And that meant working odd jobs. I mean, I remember I worked in a caravan park cleaning men's urinals. Now,
wow,
that's it, I did what I had to do. I worked in a coffee van on freezing cold Canberra mornings on a Sunday morning so that I could afford my bus fare to
yeah,
go to the job that I had thankfully been able to snag, you know, 19 levels lower than what I used to work at, but it was
yeah,
a job that was regular. And, so it was having to let go of who I was or who I thought I was,
yeah.
and
But
making time.
Mandy, as you're talking, you don't, I don't think women have to hit rock bottom to
No,
experience the things you're talking about. The letting go of
that's right.
expectations,
Yes.
you know, every woman, and especially, in my area of work, perimenopausal, menopausal women,
Oh,
have
yes.
to do that big
hmm
time, and
hmm
I think that the lessons that you're teaching and the things that you're saying are going to resonate for many women who may not have been in the same situation as you, but are going through their own transformative journey. And perimenopause, menopause is a perfect time for that to happen. Um,
It
my
is.
question to you, however, is I guess you didn't have a choice.
Mm.
Sorry, you didn't have a choice. You had to confront all these
Oh,
things. And perimenopausal women and menopausal women sometimes go a bit head to head with these emotions and these
mm,
confrontations. They don't want to. They don't want to let go of the expectations, or it's difficult to let go of the expectations. It's difficult to sort of stand in your own truth and say, this is what I want to do. I don't want to socialize. I don't want to be, the person, the woman I was. I want to become this new person, but there's so much conflict in that,
mm.
in that.
Yes. Yeah. Look, there is. And when when you say, I had to make those choices to move forward, yes, I did, but I still had another choice on the other side of that. I could have
Yeah,
chosen to continue to go down the path. And
yeah,
when I work with women, I'm pretty blunt and pragmatic about it. You've got a choice here. You can stay stuck.
yeah,
You can stay, maintaining the expectations, the appearances. How is that going to feel in here for you? What is that going to look like for the rest of your life?
yeah,
Or you can make the hard decision to make the changes. And often when I talk about choices, again, I don't sugarcoat stuff. I will often say to people, you've got a choice. Now, you've got choice A, which could be a shitty choice, but you've also got choice B, which could be a shittier choice. And sometimes you have to choose between
yeah,
one that's meh and one that's really, really horrible. That's up to you. Everyone
yeah,
does have a choice. Where do you want to put the work in? Is it's it's hard to make changes. Is it harder to stay the same?
Say that again.
It's hard to make changes,
Yeah.
but is it harder to stay the same?
Yeah.
So I'll give you a
That's
recent
really hit
example.
me. Yeah, that's really hit hard.
Yeah, I'm nearly 52. I'm in the peri stage, and I've got one lung. I've got scoliosis. I was born with one and a half lungs, a fabulously unique machinations of my heart. I wore a back brace as a teenager for severe scoliosis, and at the age of nearly 52, my back is starting to fuse,
Mm,
as does happen with all scoliosis patients.
yeah.
Now, I want to live an amazing life. I want to travel. I want to have energy. I want to keep coaching and teaching and being part of a community. So I had some choices to make this year. I had to choose to start doing strength training. I was carrying a little bit of extra weight, and it's not about the aesthetics of the weight. When I carry weight on my front, it counterlevers my back.
Yeah.
I had to make some choices about, do I want to do the hard work and get a PT and go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week? Or do I want to end up not being able to live the life that I want?
Yeah.
Hard choice, harder choice.
Yeah.
And, that means that sometimes I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
to go to the gym. It means that I walk my dog every day, rain, hail, or shine, for, an hour every day. I mean, she loves that anyway, and that's part of my own mental health
Yeah.
space. But I choose what I put in my mouth. Not, 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 um, I'm not stringent and
Yeah.
and crazy about it, but I had a hard choice or a harder choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what I think that happens throughout our whole life cycle. And I wonder if there's an element of maturity that happens that you sort of realize that those are choices, maybe also as we age, we realize that, you know, the easier choices in that equation may not always be the best choices for us as we age and as we mature and as we're dealing with a lot of other things happening. Um,
Correct.
so what is sort of like some of the essence, like the key principles that you're looking at when you're working with clients, in terms of what are you trying to create for them? Um,
Yeah.
and then how has this really led to the creation of your new book? That's sort of where I
Yeah.
know all this is leading
Yeah.
to. But
Yeah.
tell me sort of like, what are you looking to create for your clients? And then how has this led to your book?
So there's two really important levers that I work with my clients. The first one is their values.
Okay.
And when I look at the values with them, I say, okay, let's look at it from three lenses. And so let's use kindness as an example here. If I am being kind to Jacqueline, what is Jacqueline seeing from me in my actions, my behaviors, the words that I'm using, my tone of voice, my facial gestures, my eye contact? What kind of energy is she feeling from me?
Hmm.
How am I projecting kindness out into the world? So that's the first lens.
Okay.
When I'm receiving kindness, when Jacqueline and I are working together and I can see that she's being really kind to me, what am I seeing?
Hmm.
So the same things again. What am I seeing from Jacqueline? The third one and the most important one is when I'm being kind to myself,
Yeah.
what decisions am I making? And we know that there's that age-old saying, sometimes you've got to be cruel to be kind. I
Hmm.
like to move that over to sometimes you've got to make hard decisions to be kind.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it could be boundaries, it could be making tough decisions about health, it could be making decisions around the people you surround yourself with, it could be
Yeah.
making decisions around the type of work you do or the balance that you have. So
Yeah.
when you are being kind to yourself, and sometimes you've got to be hard on yourself to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
does that look like? So that's the first thing that I work on with my clients. And obviously there's lots of steps with that, working out what their values
Yeah,
are
sure.
in the start. Because most people, if you ask them what their values are, they'll go, oh, love, respect, kindness. And I'm like, okay, that's great. There's your laundry list of all the, you've
Yeah.
Googled values and they're the top three that have come up. Fabulous. Now let's work on what yours actually are. When
Yeah.
do you get cranky? When do you get upset? When are you having hissy fits? Because
Yeah.
these are the things that are pushing your buttons and pushing against your values, and those are your values. So that's the first thing we work on. And then we work on through the process of those three lenses.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things that I work on. The second thing, and I've actually got a free downloadable worksheet on my website for
Yeah.
people to be able to pull that down from, which it's just a really good exercise to do.
Yeah.
Second thing that I work with them on is confidence, not ego,
Mm.
confidence. And it's that quiet confidence that comes from living by your values. When
Yeah.
you can live with yourself and when you can sleep at night and when in your heart you know you've done the right thing,
Yeah.
that's when confidence comes in. And that's when, you've almost got this shield against the expectations and appearances and judgments and the shoulds that come at women from every direction. So,
I
um,
love that.
and- yeah, and one of the things that I work with in the confidence space with women is how often are you apologizing
Yeah.
for yourself?
Yeah.
So I call them weasel words, sorry, just, only. How often are you using those? And 9 times out of 10, the minute I say that to a client, they're like, oh, I do that all the time. I
All the
can't help
time.
myself.
Yeah.
And my response to that is, all right, I'm not going to smack you on the wrist every time I hear you say it. I want you to just start taking a bit of a mental note of when you're saying it and being able to start correcting it in your own head before we
Yeah.
even get to the stage of it coming out of your mouth. So
Yeah.
that's a part of the confidence thing. The next part is when someone gives you a compliment. Or when someone says you're doing a good job, or when someone says, oh, gee, your hair looks nice today, or
Yeah.
wow, look at what you've achieved, just say thank you.
Yeah.
Just say thank you.
It's so funny because I feel like it's a very British thing, like you bump it, someone bumps into you and you say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." But I
I
think
don't.
the more I'm around, perimenopausal, menopausal women, I just think it's a female thing very often.
Mhm.
Someone does something to you and you're apologizing for their behavior. Or like someone says something nice, you're like, oh, like, this old dress, or oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's not actually such a big deal, or really to downplay the
Mm,
compliments. Yeah, it's
yeah.
why do we have such a hard time doing that?
And I thought it was an Australian thing, the tall poppy
Right,
syndrome.
right.
It also changes the whole energy of the situation. And I use a corporate example. If you're and I'm talking before COVID when we actually went to actual physical meetings,
Yes.
it doesn't really resonate as much
Oh,
these
that
days,
old
but
thing, Mandy.
that
You're so outdated.
I know, I'm so old. But I use the example of, you've been in a meeting and that meeting's gone over and you are running late for your next meeting.
Yeah,
And so you're running in and you go, oh, thank you so much for, I'm so sorry I'm late. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm so sorry, da, 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 and you're running in and you're shuffling around and you're in a bit of a flurry. How different is the energy if you walk into the room, shoulders back, deep breath. Thanks so much for waiting for me. It's just
yeah,
a different energy because it probably wasn't your fault that the other meeting went over.
Yeah.
So why are you in such a flap from something that you more than likely haven't caused? And at the end of the day, walking into that next meeting, it's not going to completely ruin their day that you were 3 minutes late.
Yeah.
It's
So
putting it into
I'm
perspective.
gonna challenge you here because I had exactly this thing happen to me yesterday. I ran a
Mm-hmm.
workshop yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I was blessed to have 16 women in the room for this workshop, and there was traffic on my journey in, and I arrived late. And I came and they were all politely sitting in, around the table. They were
Yeah.
all waiting. I ran. I go, oh my God, there was so much traffic. I didn't expect it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm coming. I'm going to put my bag down. And I sat there and was like, okay, let's start. But yeah, like, because I think for me, in that moment, and I'm sure this is going to be for other women, you feel
Mm.
responsible.
For
You
sure.
feel that like you have been irresponsible in arriving late. You're not showing respect to them, like all these things that you are not doing towards these people that have been waiting for you.
Yeah.
So help me reframe that maybe.
Mm. So, one, you weren't responsible for the traffic.
Yeah,
Did you leave on time with plenty of time up to spare?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I
So you
did.
weren't.
I actually did because I knew it was going to take me a while, but it was like
Yeah.
I put on Waze and it was like, oh my God, I did not expect that time, that
Yeah.
ETA.
Yeah. So, you had planned accordingly, you'd planned responsibly. And
Yeah,
in that situation, and again, we're presented with different situations all the time, and we don't know what we would do in
yeah,
the exact minute. I'd like to think if that was me in your place, I would have walked in and said, "Oh, man, the traffic was absolutely horrific. I am so sorry, ladies. Give me a minute. I'll be with you." Again, different energy,
yeah, yeah, totally,
different energy.
totally.
And it's taking the the response that you experienced is taking on the responsibility of the traffic, which was out of
Yes,
your control.
yes,
You
yes,
know,
yes,
there's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Covey talks about circle of control, circle of concern, circle of influence. So,
hmm
if there's something within your control, absolutely take responsible for it. Something within your influence, you left in plenty of time, you can only do the best that you can do. And there's an old coach's lament that I'm sure that you've heard. We do the best with what we can at the time that we have it and the
at the
information
time
that
that
we
we
have.
have it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so tell me how all this has led to your writing your book. Tell
Mm.
us a bit about your book, what the focus is, what it does. I love the title. So, yes, tell us now about sort of how all this has led to this big moment where you're about to release
Yeah.
your new book.
Yeah. So I went to a women's retreat in Spain in June or July this year. And it had been after quite a challenging period for me in my business. I had moved to Brisbane 12 months before. I had when I lived in Sydney, I had a face-to-face business. It was a nice little cottage kind of thriving business. It wasn't crazy, but it was enough. And when I moved to Brisbane, I had the intention of moving it online. That didn't translate, so I kind of didn't really know where I was going with my business. And my dad was entering the last stages of his cancer journey, and there was lots of stuff going on with that. I was in
Yeah,
a new job. We always know that new jobs bring lots of challenges with learning the ropes and learning new people, and I was in a new city. So my confidence was pretty low when I arrived at this retreat in Spain. And being there a couple of days and being surrounded by absolutely incredible women who, when I talked to them through my story about, where I'd come from and the alcohol 9 years ago and rebuilding my career and so on and rebuilding my life, they were like, You're amazing. Like this is incredible. And it took me a couple of days to be able to restart to see myself through their eyes. And it made me realize that sometimes, a lot of the time, women forget how fabulous they are and only do remember it when they see it in the reflection of the other fabulous women around
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
And as I started talking through that that time, what was just naturally coming out was we have so many shoulds. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be getting married by now. I'm 30. I should be having kids. Kids. I want to go to the gym. Well, I should be wearing these kinds of clothes. I should be,
yeah,
there's all of the shoulds. I should be buying a house now. But if I'm buying a house, then it needs to be close to the city because, well, too far out. That's just not
yeah,
Instagrammable. That's not keeping up appearances. But, and then it's just the shoulds are overwhelming. And that's where the book started to germinate. And
mhm.
can I be honest? I don't really know where the title came from. It was just there one day and I thought, that is exactly it. Because even though since the 70s and 80s, women have become more independent and more we can
Yeah,
have it all, more we can do this and more we can do that. Every single rom-com that we see, they end up with the guy. All of the Barbie dolls and the fairy tales, Cinderella, Sleeping
yeah,
Beauty, all of the media, all of the and I remember, I'm a single woman. I'm doing 2 degrees at the moment. I've got a fabulous job. I've just written a book. I have a coaching business. I'm healthy. I'm live in a beautiful part of the world. The background that you can see on my screen is from just down near the river that I live, and it's just I live a beautiful life. The minute I might say to someone, "Oh, I've just started seeing someone," they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Are you serious?" I've got all of this stuff, but
yeah,
the minute someone comes into the conversation, I'm so happy for you. I'm like, wow,
yeah.
come on.
I know.
And
It's really, wait, firstly, though, tell us the title of the book.
oh, okay. So the book is called Fuck the Fairy Tale, Find Your Own Magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do find it amazing. And over the course of this podcast, I've interviewed so many women where those, despite us being in 2025, despite us progressing and developing and having really amazing female role models in all different areas of culture and sport and politics and older women now are slowly becoming more visible because we know that a woman post 55 is invisible, but now they're becoming much more visible. There still is some old narratives and some
Mm,
old conversations and some old sort of language, cultural language that is still so strongly present. And this idea of you're not complete until
mm.
you have, again, as you said, you can tick off all the amazing things you're achieving in your life, but are you really happy if you don't have someone by your side? Like,
Yes,
be
exactly.
honest, Mandy. Are you really
Are
happy?
you really happy? I know, I know, I know. So that's the more that I was grinding up against that every time that happened,
Yeah,
I thought, that's insane. There's
yeah,
so, I have such a full life, but
yeah,
that's the one thing that gets celebrated and revered
yeah,
rather than all of these other amazing
yeah.
accomplishments. And that was really, so I started to look into where that came from. And it comes right back from the fairy tales, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty,
But do the
Ariel,
fairy
Beauty
tales
and the
have
Beast.
their own backstory, or were they? Was it this like
Well, the fairy
romance,
tale,
like sort of where did the fairy tale stories originate that messaging from?
yeah, look, that's a great question. And the furthest research that I did back was that they were written by men. All of these fairy tales were written by men.
Interesting.
And again, I just found that really interesting. And I mean, these fairy tales are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. So, it's ingrained. And then we see it culturally right through the ages. I'm a Gen Xer. I grew up on Sex and the City. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's exactly the same story. It is
Well, I was
exactly,
going to, I'm thinking as much as we love Tom Cruise, he did every woman a disservice when he said that wonderful phrase, "You complete me."
yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, these scripts are just repeated time and time and time again, decade and decade and decade
Yeah.
again. And when I started writing the book, as I was writing it and as the words were kind of tumbling out onto the paper, I realized that I was very much coming from my perspective of almost the middle finger up to, I don't want to
Yeah.
get married again. I want to live on my own and I want to do this and I want to do that. And I could
Yeah.
feel it coming out. And I thought that's actually not my intention at all,
Yeah.
because I absolutely firmly believe that whatever choice you want to make for your life and however you want to design your life, no matter what it looks like, whether that's double income, no kids, whether that's single at 52 doing 2 degrees and writing books, whether that is being married in your hometown, to your high school boyfriend, working part-time, if it's traveling the world, if it's, doing, influencing, whatever it is,
Yeah.
do it. But do it because it's what you want to do, not because it is expected.
Yeah. I really love that. And for me, it resonates with my sort of definition of feminism. And I
Mm.
think it's exactly what you're saying. I don't care if you choose to be a stay-at-home mom or if you choose to be a nuclear physicist.
Mm.
Feminism is having that choice, your own autonomy and power to make that choice, whatever that choice is.
Yes, very, very much so. And I know that one of the questions that we ask as we end our podcast today is, what is one thing that you want your daughters to know?
Yeah,
And that my daughters were very much an inspiration for this book. As I
yeah,
was growing up, I had expectations on my shoulders that I thought other people put there. But once I examined them,
yeah,
I had actually put them there myself.
right.
And so something that is really, really important to me is to help women become self-aware around these types
Mm,
of things.
mm,
So you're thinking that you should be doing this, or you're expected to do this. Where is that coming? Where is that coming from? Really, where is that coming from? And what makes you happy, I was actually talking to one of my girlfriends yesterday who's at a bit of a crossroads, and I said to her, have you sat down and started to look like what, just a nice normal, what's your ideal day look like? And she said, oh, on a white beach at the Bahamas with a cocktail. And I said, no, 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 not the fantasy
Not a
land,
fairy tale, yeah.
not the fairy tale, not the fantasy land. On a normal everyday day,
Mm,
what time do you want to get up? What do you want to do then?
yeah,
What do you want to do then? And, for me, it was an exercise I did many, many, many years ago. And I said, oh, I want to get up about 5:30, and I then want to walk my dog and go and get coffee from a barista who knows my name. And this person was my very, very first coach, not long after I had gotten sober. I didn't even have a dog at that stage. And I was still, my body was still recovering from
yeah,
the damage I had done to it. Getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning was impossible at that stage. But it was the picture in my head of, okay, this is where I want to be. And that's when I started making those one tiny choices day by day by day based on my values and what was important to me. And where the book comes from, and it is exactly that. What do you want your life to look like?
Yeah.
Um, in the last
So,
couple of years. Sorry.
so who would you think? I guess what is who is the your eye like when you wrote the book or now as you're promoting it? Who is
Mm.
your sort of your ideal reader? Who have you written this book for? What are you hoping that it will that a woman will get out of it, or it will help her to figure out?
Yeah. So I've had quite a few read friends read a little bit of a chapter here or a little bit of a chapter here,
Yeah,
and I've had people from around 27, 28, right through to my mum who's turning 75 next week.
right.
And every single person who has read the snippet or the part that I have sent them has absolutely been blown away by the rawness, the realness, and the inspiration of not just my story, because my story is just one of many.
Yeah,
There's other amazing women who have contributed their stories to the book, and it's the inspiration and what I'm hoping in some small tiny way is that this book will help to give permission for women to make the choices that are right
right.
for them, and to see that there are lots and lots and lots of women out there who are raw, unfiltered, don't live by the 9 box on the Instagram grid, and
Yeah,
that the Instagram grid is just the highlight reel. It is not real life. And real life underneath is messy and complicated and beautiful and all of those things at the same time. And, we talked about earlier that I'm quite bolshy and I'm quite happy to share my story. The other 8 women who have contributed to this book, um, some have contributed with their names, some have contributed anonymously, and I'm so grateful for all of the women who have contributed.
yeah,
It's their real stories as well, which are the most inspirational, right? Because
yeah,
it's real life.
yeah, yeah,
So
yes,
permission. And I hate even the thought of the fact that we need to have permission to be able to live the life that we want. And
yeah,
I don't like saying it in that way, but it's kind of what it is.
yeah,
It might be just that tiny little bit of inspiration or spark or the aha moment that I talked about earlier
yeah, yeah,
that allows a woman to go, you know what? This is what I want to do, or this is not right for me, or
yeah.
this is the decision I'm going to make now.
So, how
That
many authors, how many contributors do you have to the book? That must have been a grueling process and
it
also
was,
an amazing process connecting with
yeah.
all these women with stories to share.
So I purposely, Jacqueline, did not go out to other coaches. I
Yeah,
purposely went out to what I term as ordinary, everyday
yeah,
women. And they're just people that I know. They weren't, I probably approached around 20. And in the end, I had 8 agree, 3 participating with their name, 5 participating anonymously. And it was actually a really beautiful process.
yeah,
I sent them a questionnaire and they came back with their responses, and then I crafted that into a story, a chapter
right,
for them, and sent it to them for their review and approval. It's their
yeah,
story. If it's going to go into print and get
yeah,
around the world, then I want it to be true to them. So that was backwards and forwards. A lot of the women said to me that they were really thankful for the experience because it was almost a bit of a therapeutic
I was thinking
journey.
about that. Gave them a
Mm,
chance to really share. Yeah,
mm,
yeah,
yeah. I was speaking with one of my contributors yesterday, and she actually runs a podcast, and she has chosen to participate anonymously. And she said to me yesterday, Mandy, I think I wish I'd put my name to it
Wow.
now, because I can see what a difference this book is going to make
Yeah.
to the people out there in the world. And I said, look, that's okay. I plan on doing different versions of this
Yeah.
kind of style. And, if you'd like to do something in the future, then, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah.
And she said, she felt when she said that she'd been asked to do these types of things before and had always said no, but for some reason she felt that she was in a safe space and trusted me to do that, which makes
Yeah.
me feel so lucky
Definitely.
and grateful and humble at the same time. And we went back with her version quite a number of times. And she said to me yesterday, I did that because the more I was talking about it, the more I felt that I could trust you and put it out there. And I wanted to talk about it because it was undoing a lot of stuff for me and making me um settle and calm to what my story and what my journey has been. So it was a really beautiful process, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed
Well,
it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to read it myself. I'm excited
Yeah.
for you to put it out into the world.
Mm,
It's going to be, we're now talking right towards the end of 2025, but I know the
yeah.
podcast will not be out until 2026. So just share with people where they can get this book, where they can find it, where they can purchase it, because it's going to be out in the world by the time this
It is.
episode
It is.
comes out.
So you'll be able to find it on Amazon. I'll also have a link on my website, which is just mandymerrifield.org. So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be on a number of other platforms as well, but it's definitely going to be on Amazon as well as on my website. So
And we'll definitely put a link to the
yeah,
book in the show notes, so no one has to worry about that.
yeah.
Mandy, as we come to the end of our conversation, I know you preempted me when I say that I ask every woman that I
Yeah.
interview. As I said, this is the podcast of things that I want my daughters to know.
Yeah.
What is that message, that one thing that, if you would stand on the rooftop and be able to shout it out, what do you want your daughters to know? Goddaughters, nieces, that next generation of daughters coming up.
Mm.
Through your experiences, through the things that you've heard from other women, what is it that you really want them to know and wish that they would know?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I want them to know that I love them no matter what choices they
Yeah,
make in the world.
yeah,
That's the most important.
yes.
Second part of that is that I want them to know that there is a word called and. And that word is a word that I have been able to use in my life to manage relationships that are important to me. I was once upon a time the queen of walls. If I felt like I was being hurt or disrespected, or it was a situation that I couldn't deal with, wall would go up. And those walls were, stronger than the Great Wall of China. They completely impenetrable. I had a therapist tell me a couple of years ago, try the word and, because
Okay.
walls are not serving you. Walls cut you off. They hurt you more than they hurt the other people, or just as much. And hate and anger are energies that just absolutely sap any joy or happiness or calm from your life. So let's try the word and.
So how do you use that? How does that manifest for you?
So I use the word and one example that I have is I have a relative who I care deeply for. She's a very, very, very special person in my life. Sometimes she makes decisions that make me really angry
Yeah,
and they hurt me.
yeah,
Not intentionally, but they do. The word that I have, the way that I work that out so that I still have the relationship with this person in my life
yeah,
because I want that.
Yeah.
is I say, she hurts me and I love her. And when those two
Mm.
things sit by side, it takes the sting out of it. It takes the and or out of it.
Mm.
And it
Mm.
means that, because if I just say, well, she hurts me, wall goes up.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
protecting myself, the wall goes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
She hurts me and I love her.
Yeah.
And it helps to put that balance
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah.
It
That's
doesn't
really
mean,
profound.
yeah, yeah. So
It's
that's,
like holding, which is something that we as humans find difficult in all areas, holding two truths at the same time,
yes,
holding two values or two emotions at the same time that may be in conflict.
yes. And it helps to take the conflict out of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you
Fascinating.
don't give yourself the space when you need it. It it prevents putting the walls up. And I have put walls up for most of my young life, my young adult life, even into my late 30s, early 40s. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore. But I needed to work out a way to manage that. And the
Yeah.
word and is the
Yeah.
way forward for me. It may not be the way forward for everybody, but
Yeah.
it's the way forward for me.
Amazing. Wow, this has been a really powerful conversation with you. I know you want the book and your work to have aha moments with your clients, and this definitely has had some real pivotal aha moments for me. Some of the things you said have really made me stop a minute. So
Mm.
I really, really appreciate this conversation, Mandy. Tell
Thank you,
everyone
Jack.
where they can find you, how they can follow you, where are you hanging out?
Mm. So the easiest way to find me is just on mandymerrifield.org, and I know that you'll pop that link
Yes.
into the show notes. Um, I am definitely more of a Facebooker and a LinkedIn than an Instagrammer, and it's just my name. You'll find me, you'll see my photo. It's just Mandy Merrifield. That's really easy. My
Perfect.
my um my goal for next year is to become a bit more Instagram savvy. I don't know if that's going to work.
I know. I sometimes think we missed the boat on that. I'm
Oh,
51
I
and I'm like,
just don't get it. I
yes,
just don't get it. So Facebook and LinkedIn are where I'm most active, and
perfect. Perfect.
there's and my website is the best place to find me.
Amazing. Well, I'm really wishing you so much luck with the new book. Congratulations on
Thank
the
you,
process.
Jacqueline.
I know it's a real endeavor and a real journey. And
Yeah.
really, everyone, go check out Mandy's book. Follow her. As you can hear, she is really speaking some hard truths, but I'm sure if they're resonating for me, they're going to be resonating for everyone listening. So, really, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. Um, you can all follow Mandy. All the links will be in the show notes. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for this conversation. And I look forward to seeing you on another episode of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast.